Well, hey, folks, welcome to another Power Agent Success Series. I am so excited on somebody that we have who's special in my heart, and her name is Joanne Mills. Hey, Joanne.
Hello, Darryl Davis. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Joanne it's a real blessing that we have her because she has such a great history behind her as far as real estate success, the highs and lows, which anybody who's honest about their career goes through that. And Joanne, of course, has had that as well. So we're going to delve deep into some of what she does and how she's gotten to where she is now. So Joanne, just so if people want to reach out to you after this and what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can check me out I'm on all social media. But if you want to just give me a call, I can directly. My cell phone is 631-836-5289. My email is Joanne, Joanne, at joannemills.com. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter. I'm all over the place. Just Google me.
There you go. There you go.
Me.
And there's a little marketing tip as well. You know, when somebody gives like when you give your email address, Joanne at joannemills.com, the email address states, here's my web address as well. So it's always good to have your own website and email like that. Okay. And as far as production, let's just start off with that so people can really get your success and power. This year, last year, production, just share whatever you want to share on that.
Well, last year we were just talking about that a little bit. Last year we were in the middle of COVID, which was a crazy year. So, most people, I think they did either really well or did not so well. It all depended on their mindset on that whole time of, am I going to let this stop me or am I going to let this focus on helping people? Yeah. So I did over 25 deals last year for Long Island. It's a really good number. I mean, it's a very successful number. And this year I'm on track for more of that. We are in a transitional year, but I'm really excited about just focusing on helping people and what they need and where that's always been my business model, even after Sandy, which was a big problem here on Long Island, especially on the South Shore of Long Island. And I was also a victim of Sandy back in 2012. I had 3 feet of water in my house and had 5 feet of water in my business. Had to recreate that whole thing. And at the end of that Sandy year, I did over $100,000 in business just by putting my head down and say, how can I help people? How can I just help people? Just let me just open it up and let's figure this out together. So the COVID year was the same thing, as people still needed to be helped. And now we're in a COVID transit kind of yes and no year. As I was saying before, it's like, yes, you may wear a mask, no, you wear a mask. Can you do this? Can you do that? It's kind of changing. And I think people are getting a little weary of themselves. They're hesitant. So it's a little bit of a different year. It's not a real clear year, but people still need to be helped. They need to be served. So how can I serve you?
That's what I'm going to ask you. You may have already answered it, so I may be starting with the like Jeopardy backwards here. But you've had
yes, Alex.
You've gone from being a solo agent to building a team, opening and building your own real estate company, and then going back as a single agent without a team and not an office. So there's been trials and tribulations, positives and good with all of that. How have you dealt with when it was challenging, those times when it wasn't positive? Because some people are watching this and they're having their own demons to deal with, their own issues about, I'm not good enough, I can't pay my bills, there's better agents than me, all of that. So how did you get through those moments?
That's a great question. It's not an easy, simple answer, because as you spoke, I went through all of these different times in my life of extreme growth, and then things that hit you, very close and intimate deaths that happen in the family that affect you, life situations, world situations that will stop, can stop you, and just being in those there's that high and low of real estate. We know about that, And you're in the zone and you're out of the zone. You're in your zone, you're out of your zone. So how do you get through that? And to me, it's always kind of come back to, why do I do this? When I'm really struggling, when I'm really having a hard time, when it's a little overwhelmed, when there's a lot coming at you from different areas, is what is it in real estate that turns me on? What is it that I love about it? And what is the whole meaning of it? And to me, real estate, and and I didn't get this years ago. I got this in the worst part of the trials and tribulations of being in this business, is, what does real estate mean to me? Real estate happens to be, a business industry that allowed me to feed my heart. It's like I got into real estate, fell in love with it right away, was good at it right away, started to build a business. But what I really realized later on was, the actual industry allows me to do the things that I'm really good at. Talking to people, sharing with people, helping people, giving them, information, and then guiding them through this process. So I always want to serve people. I always want to do something for others, right? So if you could find something, to me, real estate was the industry that gave me the ability to do what I love and just help people. And do it in a way that, it's gratifying. Is every deal satisfying? Is every deal at the end everybody hugging and kissing? No, because the best thing about real estate is people. The worst thing about real estate is people. So that's not always perfect, but what makes me happy and put my head down at night is that I know that I did my best and it helped someone. And they moved on, in their life. They moved on in their life, which helped me move on in my life. And the thing about real estate is, it's ever growing, it's ever changing. It's, all of these things we talk about, all these challenges, from Sandy to COVID to, crazy markets, high interest rates, low interest, whatever it is, those changes allow you to kind of create a new business again. It doesn't get boring. It gets, where you need to think, you need to bob and weave a little bit, but in a way of helping people. It's like using my powers for good. Using the powers for good. As realtors, we are people who can, I don't like using this word, but it's manipulate, right? We can move people, we can negotiate, we can help, you know what I mean? We can, so, but when you use your powers for good in that way, where you can help people move on in their lives by nudging and helping and focusing on their dream, it's using those powers for good. And then it just reflects back into your own life.
There's several powerful things that you just said. One of what I heard was, one of them, what I heard is that when you are at maybe one of the worst moments in your life / career, one of those valleys, that how you can always get out of it is if it brings you back to your core purpose, why you're in the business in the first place. And so in some respects, the breakthrough can be from a breakdown is getting crystal clear once again. Why are you in the business? What is it? What's your purpose? What's your driving force? And so that's what I got out of what you just said. And the other thing that, real estate is always changing, like just looking at and because of that, it gives you an opportunity to reinvent your business.
Yeah, you can have, honestly, no business. And a lot of people, do, but if they really just change that mindset a bit and they plug into something like, of course, power agents. I'm seeing a lot of comments on a power agent group about people who come back or people just became a part of power agent and their whole head is now in a different space because they're surrounding themselves with people who are engaged in learning process, engaged in the positive of this business, engaged in sharing that information to others. It just becomes, it puts that back in that zone. Put it back in that zone of just like you're just attracting stuff, right? As opposed to repelling it. And there's times when we're in that space that we're actually shutting the door. We're repelling business because we're not open to serve. And I'm gonna bring up. It's funny. It's I always say I believe, right? And goes back to the why of Simon Sinek. I don't know if anyone ever saw the why on that TED talk, really touched my life. And I always sit with people when I start that conversation, I said, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Let me tell you what I believe. And what my goal is here today, in whatever conversation is, buyer, seller, whatever it is, that my goal is here to share and help you and give you information and guide you through that process. And, at the end of this conversation, we're going to decide if this is going to be good for both of us. But I'm attracted to that. You ever go to Mike's sandwich place? There's a new place called Mike's. I went there yesterday.
No.
Anyway, I went there and I got a drink and a sandwich. And on the drink, it says Mike's Believes. And on the bottom, it is like why they're in business.
Hmm.
And that's the kind of company I'm going to, I want to, and I felt it when I was in there. I had fun with these guys when I walked in the door. This is my first time, be good to me kind of thing. But it's like Joanne believes, Darryl believes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go from that moment on is, what do you believe? Why are you doing this? And then that takes away all the selling. It takes away all of the, where a client or possible client or the lead is going to start saying, what's in this for you, Joanne? Well, I told you what's in for me. This is what I believe. And then let's go from there.
I mean, that is super powerful. I mean, just imagining starting a listing appointment, a listing conversation, saying that this is what I'm committed to in this conversation. This is why I'm here, is to find out what's important to you guys and see how I can maybe help facilitate you to your next level, or whatever words that you say. But that's powerful because it creates a context for the conversation. It helps manage the listening of the homeowner, that they're not listening through, oh, you're a salesperson wanting to take from me, that who you are is caring about me. So that's profound and powerful stuff, Joanne.
And it's what I've learned from you throughout the years. It's just, it's just expressing that up front, even on a phone conversation. I was talking to someone, I said, okay, let me just talk a little bit about what my plan is and how I can help you. So this is what I believe. And then once I get that, then the questions I'm asking are no longer invasive. Those questions are informative. Those questions are, how can I help you? To the more information you give me, good, better, or different. I don't care what it's going to better serve us to come up with a plan or a guide or whatever it is that you really truly need. And then I can help you. And then through that process, when things get overwhelming, and people get forgotten of what their goal was, you bring them back to that again. You say, okay, this is what we spoke about. Right. And I want to keep you on track of that. And that's, that's when you could use your power for good, or you're using your power for good to be able to bring them back into that focus, into that light, and things aren't that difficult. And that comes back to, okay, that's what I have to do for myself sometimes. It's just not as easy to do for yourself as you could do for others.
Very great. Now, with that, let's talk about, because there's some, I want to make sure we get this in the interview for people, and about this market and the multiple offers still happening, although things seem to be shifting in real estate. So we're going to talk specific strategies now. You had said something before we officially started this, that about your pet peeve. So let's talk about your pet peeve, which is putting deals together. So let it rip.
Well, it's really, we got to look at the big picture here. So I consider myself a listing agent, right? I always wanted to own the shoe store. And I always thought, I knew it was better than to drive people around and pick out other people's shoes. So I've always been a listing agent, but I've always sold at the same time. In this market, if anyone, I'm not sure, I know that we're talking to everybody across the country, but here in New York, obviously, we have been in a very much of a buyer, seller's market. And there's been, every house is multiple offers. Pretty much every house is multiple offers. So my pet peeve is presentations from buyer agents or other agents who are putting an offer on a house I have, and how they present that offer. And the big thing is that there is no presentation of that offer at all, right? So let me give you an example. I got an offer the other day on a house I have on the market. There was no phone call. There was an email. That not all agents are like me that check their email all the time, by the way. So there was an email that I caught just by accident. In that email, there was no body of the email. There was no, "Dear Joanne, this is an offer." It was just the attachments, which were photographs, bad photographs of a binder and a pre-approval. I mean, like I had to like zoom in. It wasn't even like a scan or anything like that. And then, but nothing else, and no signature even on the email. So how am I going to call this person back? Kind of thing, right? And to me, and then for another example, I got another offer on the same property for less money, but that agent not only sent me a really great email, right? He texted me before he sent the email, so I knew it was coming. It had a great body, explained the buyer, it reiterated the offer, talked about all of the points like, are you doing a home inspection? Is there anything for sale? I mean, all of these different things that are really important in an offer. And then everything was, all the attachments were there. So when I look at these two offers, even though this one was $10,000 less than this one, the first one with nobody, what agent do I want to work with? What agent do I think is going to get that deal done?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, that's just horrible. I mean, you got a pet peeve. I'm hearing you tell a story. I'm ready to smack that agent that you were just saying, because this is why, if civilians heard that, this is why they don't respect real estate professionals, is because you got an agent doing some sloppy work. Like, imagine if that buyer knew that that's how that agent handled that offer.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to step back a little more. There was still something missing on the second email. Was I teach my agents, and I've taught my agents and my team, and any agent who'll listen to me, I'm never going to put an offer in without calling that agent first. I'm going to call that agent, and I'm going to ask some questions, and I'm going to get as much information as I can out of that listing agent just before I even put an offer in, so I can even, I'll call up and just say, well, how old's the roof? And by the way, do you have any, do you have any offers on that house? Because that makes a big deal. You don't even ask me if I have an offer before you send me over an offer. You don't even ask if what's.
Now that's important. So you'll call the listing agent before you even write the offer, because you want to see if you can somehow get a little something out of that listing agent.
This is where I can use my powers for real good for my buyer. Right? Because not all agents are as good and who don't know who they're serving. So I can ask questions like, do you have any other offers? What do you think is going to take? I don't start with that. Thank you very much for showing. I had a couple of questions. I'm not saying my buyer has any interest. I'm just saying there was a couple of questions. And then depending on where I'm going to go, I'm going to take it a little further. And then if I decide at this point, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to be sending over an offer. Okay. But I'm going to ask questions that's going to serve my client if I can get that information. How many offers are on the table? What's the number if possible? What's the time frame? Does the seller have anything to buy? All of that stuff. But so before, that's going to now help me with my conversation with my buyer to say, okay, let's create a strategy to get you this house.
Now, I just want to highlight. I want to highlight something you said, because I remember one of my favorite shows as a kid. Again, there's some people watching this, they have no idea, but Columbo.
Yes.
And you remember?
Oh, yes.
Columbo was like, for those of you who don't know, you should just watch YouTube one show, because he was this investigator, private investigator, right? And bumbling, and he always wore a trench coat. He looked like a slob and not smart. And he would ask stupid questions, and then just as he's leaving the witness and going out the door, he would turn around and say, by the way, and he would ask this one question that really was that would solve the case, right?
Yeah. By the way, do you have any offers?
Yeah. So what you're saying is be Columbo, like you call the agent in some respects. You don't call them and say, hey, my buyers want to buy the house. Do you have any offers? So you subtly get that question in there at some point, squeeze it in, and you may get an answer. I'm assuming, Joanne, that the other reason why you you call the listing agent before is also to build rapport, perhaps, with that listing agent. Am I right?
Because and so it also, I want them to know I'm a professional. So when I do send over that offer, that email is really professional. It has the information in there that's going to, and I'm actually putting information in there that's going to, keynotes that I know that an agent will repeat to their seller.
Mm.
You know, or if I go over that offer with that agent on the phone, because you're planting in their head that, my seller has nothing to sell. They're just those really key, selling that seller, that buyer. I'm sorry, selling that buyer, because an agent, most of them, will just repeat what you said to them. But if there's nothing there, how can I even, what is there to say to except, okay, here's the number. Now it's just based on a number. Now you're not going to win, because then somebody with $500 more is going to win.
Say that one part. Say that one part
Well,
again.
if there's nothing else about that offer that an agent expressed to its seller, right?
Mhm.
Other than here's a number, here's their down payment, and that's it. Then an offer that's $100 more is going to beat you, as opposed to an offer that there's key things that I want an agent to repeat to their client.
So in other words, it's almost like one of the things I learned years ago, which I thought was interesting in Congress. So if you have the Democrat Party or the Republican Party, and there's an issue publicly, whatever it might be, they'll actually send out a memo to all the people in their party saying, here's the talking points. If you get on Fox or CNN or whatever, here's basically the bullets that say this phrase, right? So talking points. So what you're saying in some respects is planting the talking points in the listing agent. So when they do get the offer presented.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I do the same thing in a showing. Say I have especially when you have buyers, a broker opens a lot, right? A broker open to me I was showing that house. I never did a broker open where I just let agents walk around. I'm going to take that agent through, and I'm going to do that talking points. I'm going to point things out to that agent. So when they do show that house, they don't even know that I coached them on how to show that house.
Wow.
They just thought I spent time rapport and built rapport with them, spent time with them. But I coached them. So when they walk through the house, they're going to point out that special little thing, or this possibly could be, that I see that most, other people aren't going to see. So when I'm working with agents, I'm coaching them without even kind of letting them know that I'm coaching them sometimes. Sometimes they're going to know. But it's always serving my client, right? And there's much more to it too. There's much layers, because building relationships with other agents is something I've done from the beginning of my business, outside my office. Always treated agents as colleagues and not competition. I always did. Probably because, I'm going to tell you the truth, in the beginning was because I like to be liked. I want everybody to love me, and if they don't, I don't understand why. Right? So that was a little self-serving. But as it turns out, when everybody loves you and likes you and knows that you're a professional, I can pick up the phone and put an offer in, never even have to send paperwork to get that offer accepted. Right?
That's really important. What you just said is that you're not just prospecting the buyers and sellers, but you're prospecting agents and how agents see you, because after that deal, there may be another deal with that agent, another deal. So your brand, your with other agents is just as powerful as your brand with civilians, right?
And I use that in a listing appointment. I literally use that in a listing appointment. Mr. and Mrs. Hana, I market to other agents just as aggressively as I market to the end consumer, because the other agents have what we want. They have the buyers. I don't care who buys your house or who sells it. It's not my job. My job is to get you the best money and the best deal. And so I'm going to market to other agents, and I build rapport, and I have networks. I'm part of networks, and I use my power agent, my power agent membership, and the Long Island Real Estate Network that I built years ago on a group on Facebook, and all of the different things I've done over the years, including being a part of NYSAR and past president of the Women's Council. All of those things I've done in my business over the years was to be able to build this kind of rapport. So when I pick up the phone, for me, I pick up the phone, but actually as a broker, when we talked about that, I was a broker and as a team leader. When any of them pick up the phone and use my name, that rubs off on them, and it teaches them to build that relationship.
Well, that's a powerful concept there too. If you're talking to a homeowner, Mr. and Mrs. Hana, with all due respect, nobody in the real estate industry knows who you are. There's an advantage for you associating with my brand because it's respected in the industry. That brings more power to your listing, to your house over others. So, anyway, that's pretty awesome. All right. Any final thoughts on negotiating offers? Any tips that you would give?
So tips on negotiating offers. The final thoughts is really just is you really want to treat. Don't cut any corners. You know, and if you don't know how to do it, find a really great agent in your office that does a lot of business and ask them how to do it. You know, find out the little tips and techniques. You know, how I learned real estate, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, was I started an independent company. And so you don't really have all that training that you get and stuff like that. So what you do is you end up seeking training. You end up learning. And I learned by listening to other agents and watching really good ones. And then I would go and seek more and more out. And the thing about, you know, just do a little bit more, right? Know who you're working for, which is who's your client. Serve that client to the best ability. It was even, we talk about doing open houses and stuff like that. It's like, put out another sign. You know, make sure, do just one more thing, add a little bit more. It's only going to serve you in the end. It really is. It's serving the client, but it's also serving you in the end. So it'll help you create more business. So, you know, seek out people that you admire in this industry and really ask them how to do it. And when you see someone do it well, tell them that. Yeah. Right. Awesome. I tell an agent that. I said, you know what, you did a great job. I love hearing from my age, you know, agents that I taught, that they'll tell me stories of how other people were impressed by them. And I'm so proud of them, but I also go, yeah, because you know, it feels good. You know, I talk to them well, and they see it, and they see it reflected in their business and their income. And when they pick up that phone, people answer it. You know, when your name shows up on the dial, people pick up that phone. If not, well, then you need to work on that. If you were going to, this was not part of my questions, but this is really powerful what you just said. If you were going to give somebody that, you know, 3 suggestions or however many, I don't care about the number, but those little minor things of improvement to their business, you know, easy things that anybody can do that's watching this, but those little things can make a really big impact. What would those be? Yeah, so this is a tough question because I didn't prepare. It is a tough question, you know, because be a student of the business. Be ever hungry to learn more, right? But become your own network is a big one, right? Use all your resources. Every other agent that you meet has something to teach you, right? Or you have something to teach them, which is pretty awesome too. But also an attorney, or the mortgage guy, or whoever it is who's been in the business longer, ask them, you know, how can I improve? What would you suggest? How can we work together to make more business? Build your own team of heroes in your business, right? Build your own team of heroes and people who are like-minded, who when you say to them, what do you believe? They can tell you. If you say to somebody, what do you believe? Why do you do what you do? What is it that you love? And they can tell you, that's somebody you want to get to know better. Right. Right. And then surround yourself with the best of those, which is Darryl Davis, right? Is be a part of something like this, because, you know, no matter how good an office is, and there are great offices, and there's good offices, and there's okay offices, it doesn't matter unless you're engaged. It doesn't work. Right. Right. You need to be engaged in who you work with, who you're working for, and who you surround yourself with. And because there are going to be times when things happen in life, in the big picture, in the little picture, in your heart, in your relationship, in your health, in whatever, and you're going to need to be able to lean on others who might be in the zone when you're out of the zone to be able to stay there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I will say, I have the advantage of knowing you personally as well. So, and one of the things just to highlight what you just said is me standing out looking at you. What I've noticed is what you just said, which is be engaged in your company, be engaged with other people, be engaged with a team. And yeah, man, when you joined Exit and you drank the Kool-Aid in a good way, that there were resources there and you milked the resources. You use the resources to build your business, to engage other people. And, there's some agents that their problem, one of the challenges could be, is they're not being engaged enough with the resources that are right there, whether it's their company, whether it's in our coaching program, or other coaching programs or other training programs. It's like buying a membership to a gym. It doesn't work if you're not going to the gym, right? You got to be engaged.
It should be 110 pounds how much I paid for memberships in gyms, right? If you just lose weight by being a member. But the thing is, when, because even myself, I'm going to be honest, we talk about my transition. Right now, I'm an associate broker at the brokerage that I helped build. And I sold it to my associate, help build it with me. And I can actually feel unengaged there. I can feel unimportant. I can feel, like I'm not a part of it anymore. So I'm just, who is that, them making me feel that, or is that me? It's, because if I walk in the door, everybody's happy to see me. If I walk in the door, anyone will ask me a question and needs me, or I can engage, I can help everybody or anybody there and get back to me as much as I want. But if I choose, it's me who's in those moments that might feel a little bit disengaged. But most agents will turn around and blame it on,
right.
Well, I'm not important to them. It's them that are causing that. It's not. You're important to them. They wouldn't have invested in you and hired you and brought you in. And all the, even that's your company. Let's talk about Darryl Davis's Power Agents. I mean, what does your team think about every single day? Every conversation you guys have, it's how can we engage our members more? How can we serve our members more? How these guys are important to us. What can we do? So if an agent is not taking advantage of it, it's sometimes really hard, right? It's frustrating for you. You're like, what else do I got to do? How can I hurt him?
Right, right.
Can I just feed it to you? Right. But it's, so we got to look back in your heart and say, okay, why do I feel unimportant? Why do I feel that, I don't make a difference? Because it's just here.
It's important that people get that. One of the things I learned early on is whenever you blame or put it outside of you, saying it's my broker or it's my office or it's other agents or my spouse.
It's that agent was bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you give away the power to do anything about it. Because if that were true, you can't fix it. You can't do anything about it. But if you look internally and say, where is my responsibility in this breakdown or in this way that I feel, now you have some power to do something about it. Zig Ziglar, I love how he said, when you point your finger out as to why your life's not working, you've got, 3 fingers pointing back and perhaps the real reason. So, but listen, Joanne, this was really awesome. I know you got the cleaning crew back there. So
see, they're engaged. They're early. They're ready to work.
They're early, and it's like we're doing this. So.
Yeah, we're not leaving. We're cleaning. We'll just be quiet.
All right. Let's put a pin in this. If you were going to give one last bit of advice to anybody that's watching, what would you say?
Well, you have your hands on something that's unlimited. It's literally, there's no ceiling on what you can be and what you can do and how you can serve and what you can help. And to me, is what just made me hungry for more, right? The big picture is, what is it you truly want? You don't have to be $1 billion agent. You don't have to be the agent on, who's up on the stage. That's not the agent you want to be. But if you, whatever level you want to be, you can be.
Mm.
And don't let anyone else take that away from you. And mostly, don't let you take that away from you. Don't let you take that away from you. Because all you have to do is there's more people out there who want to help you than they want to hurt you. Right? Because everybody feels the same. Everybody has the same doubts and all that kind of stuff. And this business has ups and downs. And you're not going to be perfect at it. No one is. I'm not perfect. I've screwed up. I've made mistakes. I've learned a lot from them. So allow yourself to do those things, but don't give up on yourself. And know that the guy sitting next to you, or the guy who's on the Monday morning calls or the Wednesday webinars, wants you to succeed. Wants you to succeed. And all you got to do is just put your head down and say, who can I serve? How can I help you?
It's awesome. Awesome. Great stuff, Joanne. Well, listen, thank you for being so generous with your time. You stay with me. I'm just going to say goodbye to everybody. So there you have it, gang. Joanne dropping some incredible wisdom bombs. I hope it helped you guys. Remember, we don't just help people buy and sell real estate. We actually help them get to their next level. And the money we make is a gauge as to how many lives we've touched. So focus on making a difference in people's lives, and the money will follow. God bless everybody. Stay safe, stay focused, and don't forget to keep smiling.